Good morning from Inlet Beach near Panama City, Florida, on the Gulf of whatever we're calling it these days. So April 2nd is going to be a potentially watershed day in the short to midterm U.S. economic trajectory. That's the date. That's next Wednesday. The Trump administration is set to formalize its plan for tariffs, so-called retaliatory tariffs, which will primarily, or to a large extent anyway, fall on manufactured goods, especially in the transportation equipment sector. The reason this is important is the U.S. economy, in descending order of importance in terms of percentage GDP, is in, again, descending order: consumer spending, the government sector, and manufacturing. The first two, the consumer sector, is already under pressure. Credit card delinquencies are up. Consumer sentiment in the University of Michigan study has been trending down now for 6 months or so. Spending is being ratcheted back. Retailers are lowering their guidance and their forecast for the rest of the year in terms of revenue and profit. So the consumer sector is already under pressure and pulling back. The government sector, if you know what's going on in Washington, you know what's happening there. And now manufacturing, which is about 9.9% of the U.S. economy in 2020, the most recent statistics that I can find, is set to be squeezed by these tariffs. And the reason this is important is that if those three sectors are all squeezed simultaneously, consumer spending, government, and manufacturing, the odds of recession just go up enormously and quickly, like as early as the second quarter, if not the third. Not saying it's a certainty, but just much, much more likely. As followers of this channel know, we believe the U.S., as the world transitions from a globally connected economy based on free trade to one that's more regional in nature, more like spheres of influence pre-World War I, that the U.S. is the best position of any economy in the world, both demographically and geopolitically and economically. But the ride can be smoother or bumpier depending upon the policies that governments choose. And just like the Biden administration chose policies in 2021 and 22 that made inflation worse than it had to be, inflation would have been there anyway, but their policies made it worse than it had to be. So is the Trump administration seeming to be prepared to pursue policies that will make the transition to more manufacturing and local Western Hemisphere-based trade bumpier than it would otherwise have to be. I'm not saying that that's a good policy or a bad policy, just that that's what the path is likely to be. The interesting part is that if you look at manufacturing as a share of all employment in states, 6 states in particular, Indiana, Michigan, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Ohio, those 6 states all have very high percentages of manufacturing employment as a percentage of the total, and those are all 6 in transportation equipment, cars and aircraft. These sectors are going to be hit really hard if the tariffs are implemented. So we look initially for those states to be hit hard in terms of employment and disposable income, and then it will ripple out, of course, to the rest of the economy as, for instance, cars go up in terms of the price of a new car, somewhere on the order of $6,000 per car. You may have noticed yesterday on the 25th of March that the markets responded poorly. Rather, 26th of March, markets responded poorly to this. GM stock was down something like 7 or 8% because of how much of its U.S. manufactured cars are actually produced and go back and forth in various stages of production between the U.S. and Mexico, for instance. So those states will be hit hard initially, but every state's going to be impacted. And if that happens and you see consumer spending pull back, that's where the risk of recession goes up. So if you're in one of those 6 states we mentioned, Indiana, Michigan, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi, Ohio, and you're an airport in one of those states, you should be prepared for a fall off in demand very quickly. And airlines are going to tend to reduce capacity, adjust capacity quickly. We think as early as mid-second quarter, probably not waiting for Labor Day, and that this could have a very negative effect on the air transportation sector. And airports need to be ready to adjust their plans to accommodate fewer passengers, less non-airline revenue, and less activity. We'd love to be wrong, but that's the way we think this is headed if, as planned, these tariffs are announced on the 2nd and put into effect on April 3rd. Thanks for tuning in. Would love to hear what you think. Bye.